So you guys ready to get on a plane soon? Yeah?
Yeah.
All packed. So we have quite a few different locations in here. We have Dubai, Germany. We were just kind of talking about all the different places that you guys are going. It's pretty exciting. We're going to have NDSU students all around the world. This is the first time we're doing this all in one room at one time. So it's kind of a test run for us. Usually we'll go to each specific group and their class meeting time and meet with them individually. So we're just going to see how this goes because clearly this is more efficient for us. We don't have to haul t-shirts all over campus. So hopefully this goes really well. Please feel free to ask us questions because there might be things that you're thinking of that other people are also wondering. So feel free to ask us questions as we go along. We do kind of cover a lot of topics in a short period of time. So it'll seem like we're really bouncing from topic to topic as we go along. So if you have something that comes to your mind, like feel free to flag us down and just ask it at the time, or you can also wait till the end and there will be time for questions. So yeah, I think we'll go ahead and, oh, my name is Tanya Kramer. I'm the Assistant Director of Study Abroad. You probably see both mine and Tasha's emails pretty regularly. And so if you have any questions, always feel free, like you can come talk to us afterwards. You can stop by the office and talk to either one of us or any of our staff in the office as well. So,
And then my name's Tasha Carey Waselk. I am the study abroad advisor here at NDSU, so I work closely with Tanya on these global seminar programs. Well, actually, both of us are going to be going on one over spring break as well. She's going to Dubai, and I'm going to Nepal. So, yeah, if you have any questions, just let us know.
all right. I'm trying to remember who we were decided had went first. Me? Okay. So first off, academics. If you do need to have this count towards your global perspectives or cultural diversity requirements, you can appeal to have this count towards those requirements. The due date for spring semester is April 15th. So if you want to do that appeal process, you'll want to get that rolling before the April 15th deadline to have it submitted. So that way you can get the approval back this semester. The requirements or the form is through One Stop on their website, but we do also have information on our website under academics to help you go through that process because we want you to have a successful appeal for the Gen Ed requirements. And so we have it really laid out nicely on how you can have a successful appeal. And if you have any questions, we're happy to review your essay that you write because it's really about you being able to understand and explain what you learned through your experience abroad and having it go through the process to be a successful appeal.
So as far as finances, all of your program costs will be put on your spring semester campus connection account. And then you would just pay like normal, like you would for spring semester. And then just...
All of you are billed already.
Yeah, I was going to say, you all should see it on your account as of now. So just follow it like you normally would as if you were paying for any other semester. That will have the bulk of your costs, your program costs, like your flight, your tuition, all of that stuff is going to be on your campus connection for this semester.
If you have any paperwork that you still need to work on for financial aid, you can do that at any point. So if you still have a balance sitting out on your account and you're not quite sure how to pay for that, you can still meet with financial aid and look at alternative loans and things like that. It's not too late in the semester. So if you do have questions about that, feel free to contact our office because then we can get you rolling and put you in contact with financial aid to get that figured out. So for your parents, just make sure you're in communication with them about your experience abroad. You can share with them your itinerary and all of the information about your finances and things like that if you want to. We have had students in the past who, don't share anything with their parents, which is why we always say if a parent contacts us, we actually will get in contact with you, the student, and explain their question, the answer for that question that they have to you, so that you in turn can tell your parents. Because sometimes we've had students who went all the way on programs and their mom, for example, didn't even know where they were going. And so we do not share anything like that unless they contact us and it's something that's publicly available. So if they say my daughter's going on the Italy program, we will then talk about the Italy program as far as what's publicly available, but we do not provide specific information for you as a student. Also, talking about the difficulties of regular communication on site. It might be great thinking that you're going to be able to be in communication with your parents or whatever regularly every single day, but you get busy, you get distracted, you're on a different time zone. So just letting them know not to worry and that you'll be in touch when you can and that you're having a good time. And then being able to see your itinerary and knowing what you're doing does kind of help alleviate some of that stress. But just letting them know, sometimes you're really busy and you're just having fun and you forget that, oh, I was going to talk to them today and now I didn't get a chance, and just letting them know that.
So as far as passports and visas, I don't believe any of your programs require a visa, but if it does, then I'm sure you've already dealt with that. Yeah, yes, other than Nepal. So it's just important that you make sure that, one, you have your passport, and two, that all of your name is correct, and you've signed it, because you can be denied boarding if your stuff is not correct. You want to make sure that it's also 6 months, or it's valid 6 months after you've returned too. And then just if your parents have a passport, sometimes it's nice for them to have that ahead of time should they need it in case of emergency or something like that. So, yeah.
So don't lose your passport. Anne knows this very well from last year. We had a student who lost the passport. It does take an entire day out of your itinerary, where then you have to go to the nearest embassy and have it replaced. It's also not cheap. So definitely make sure you're aware of your passport at all times, whether it's that you're carrying it on you, hidden in a money belt, or if it's in a safe in the hotel, whatever makes sense for your program. Some locations, it's best if you have it on you at all times. Some, it's not. So it really depends on where you're going, and your faculty leader will know the best, probably, recommendations for your program. If you do suspect that you've lost it, make sure you tell somebody immediately so you cannot continue and go to the next location and then think, oh, shoot, I left it back in that hotel back there. So make sure you say something right away so that way you can make sure you find it, or at least try to locate it right away. Also, if you have some sort of an internal flight or something like that, maybe you wouldn't be able to board and move on with the rest of the group. So kind of letting somebody know early is a really good idea. So you would end up having to go to the nearest U.S. embassy. You can research some of the nearest U.S. embassies for your locations that you'll be going and write it on the card in advance. But also, of course, you can look at it on site as well.
As far as packing, it's kind of just important that you watch for what the weight and like the measurements are for your luggage. I suspect most of you are going to be doing like a carry-on and then, like a personal item. That's what most of our shorter term programs will do. Making sure that you have a plug-in adapter and or an electric converter. So the plug-in adapter is the thing that actually like gets plugged into the wall. The electric converter is just converting the currents, or the electric currents. Most electronics nowadays already convert, like I believe like the iPhones and things like that already like would do that for you. But just making sure that you know if your location has different things like that to make sure that you can pack for that in advance.
The big thing is hair straighteners and stuff like that.
Yes, yep.
They're usually not dual voltage, but if they are, then they'll be okay to use with a plug adapter. But if you plug in a hair straightener and it's not, it will fry probably the hotel floor that you're on.
Yep.
And your straightener.
Yep.
Will be useless after that. So just making sure that you know that the current is converted. iPhones, most cameras, laptops, all of those are dual voltage, but things like that are not.
Yep. And then just some other things that you'll want to make sure that you pack with you are any medical supplies that you'll need while you're there, photocopies of your passport, or just like taking a screenshot of it or a shot of it on your phone to have with you as an electronic copy. Any valuables, so if you are planning to bring like laptops, tablets, cameras, and things like that, making sure that it's on you as well. I recommend taking less than you think that you'll need, because you're going to be the ones that has to haul the stuff around all the time. So just pack what you think that you're going to need for your duration there.
And also leave room because you'll probably buy things when you're there. Probably buy more than you expected because you never know what cool thing you'll find. Next thing you know, you're coming back with this like huge sword or something. Who knows? I have seen it happen. So just make sure that you actually leave room in whatever you're bringing for stuff that you'll bring back. Or if you have an expandable, carry-on, make sure you do not expand it on the way there. So that way you can do that for the way back. Because of course, after being traveling, that entire time, you're probably not going to pack as nicely as you did when you left. So sometimes things don't fit as nicely either on the way home.
You laugh about the sword thing, though, but I guarantee half of the Nepal group is going to come back with a Gorkha sword.
Uh-huh. Oh.
It's true.
Yes, it's fun what we get to bring back. So as far as flying, my number one rule for all people ever getting on a plane is stay hydrated. So there's all these other tips, but the most important one is really staying hydrated because flying is super dehydrating. Like it's just the nature of flying, right? So every time they bring water around, drink it. Every time you're like have a chance to have any water before and after flying, drink water. It sucks to go to the bathroom on the plane, yes, but it sucks even more to be sick when you arrive. And that's usually what happens when we have students who are sick when they're abroad. It's often, oh, my stomach hurts. I don't know why. I have a headache, things like that. They think they got a stomach bug, but really what it probably is you actually are dehydrated. And when that happens, start drinking water and then start drinking more water. Having Pepto-Bismol and things like that do help, but really you need to get hydrated. And most of the time when we have had students go to the hospital, it's because they think that they have some sort of stomach flu. They go to the hospital and they actually just need fluids. So it's usually dehydration. So that's my biggest tip from everything on this screen. Making sure you eat. If you're somebody who drinks a lot of caffeine on a daily basis, thinking about the timing of your caffeine for when you're flying so that way you don't get a headache. I mean, there's small things like that that are a big deal, but the biggest one is just making sure you're hydrated. You'll feel way better on the ground too. Also avoid too much alcohol. If you drink on the plane, in addition to being dehydrated, it will dehydrate you even more. And that's usually when people are getting the most sick is if they've been drinking on the plane. So do not do that. I wouldn't recommend it because you'll just feel like crap when you arrive and you'd rather have fun on the ground.
So as far as money, it's a good idea to bring a few different forms of payment, whether that's a debit card, credit card, cash, things like that. So while you're there, you have a few different ways to pay for things. Making sure that you're keeping like your bank informed too. You'll want to make sure that they know when your travel dates are, where you're going to be traveling. So if you are using a card, that it doesn't get shut off on you. And then also making sure that you understand and know like your exchange fees. Like if they are kind of higher, then maybe taking out more at a time makes more sense than taking out $20 at a time or something like that. So just know that stuff ahead of time. You'll want to make sure that you keep the two forms of payment in different locations. So if you were to you lose your credit card or something, you have cash or another card in another compartment in your luggage. And then it's also a good idea whether you keep like a physical copy of your front and back of your card, or if you just take a photo of it to have it on your phone with you. So if you did lose your card, you have the bank information and the number that you need to call to report it lost and stolen.
Make sure if you are planning to have a credit card as your backup, make sure you look at and don't take out cash from a credit card because those fees are really high. We had a student one year, for whatever reason, he said he had no idea why he did it. He decided to use a credit card instead of the debit card he brought to take out cash, and then he had over $100 worth of fees when he got back, and he was like, that was really dumb. I should have just used my debit card. So make sure you know that because it's accidents like that, or if you have your Verizon, activated or something like that, and suddenly it's charging you a bunch of money. Just make sure you know the types of your electronics and your money and stuff like that before you go, so you don't come back to a really big bill. So as far as, I was talking just now. So as far as cultural adjustments, just making sure that you're staying open-minded when you're there. You're there for a short time to really experience the culture, and even if there's aspects of it that you're not very thrilled about, maybe you didn't like the food as much as you thought you would, standing in line is a pain in the butt, whatever it is. Just make sure you stay open-minded because you're really there to experience and learn from it, and participate in the local culture and see really what it's like. Remain positive as differences occur. We don't want to be the person who really brings the entire group down. So even if you're not quite feeling it, just making sure that you really don't bring it out on the rest of the group, and stay positive because you're all there in a group experience together and you really want to have a good time and come away from this experience having had really the best time of your life. And so really trying to stay positive as things occur. And then really just make the most out of your experience. If you have an opportunity to try something new, try it. Maybe that food is not your favorite in the end, but it's worth taking a bite and seeing what it tastes like. And really just kind of living and having this experience.
So this is the cultural iceberg. I don't know if you've seen it before, but basically it's about culture. So the service culture is those things that you kind of know already going into it are going to be different. Maybe the language is going to be different. Maybe the food's going to be different, the fashion, all of those things. But then the deep culture are those things that you really kind of learn about the more that you're immersed in the locations that you're going to. So maybe, personal space isn't necessarily a thing in the country that you're going to, or just knowing like your attitudes towards different parts of the culture in general can kind of really get you in this deeper connection to the place that you're going to, because you're immersed there, kind of learning these things and seeing these things firsthand.
These are the things that you'll really walk away with too, having appreciation for the culture. And the things that will make you think, like, why do we do things the way we do here in the United States? And that's what's really neat about going to a new location, is really discovering those types of things that are really below the surface. So as far as technology on site, just making sure that you remember why you're there. I mean, you're there to learn and experience. So if you're absorbed with your phone and what's going on back home or whatever, that's probably not a good idea. I've heard people talk about how, they're at this really great site, but there happened to be Wi-Fi. So every single student was on their phone looking down instead of being like at the Cliffs of Moher. Sometimes that Wi-Fi, if you don't have connectivity and then suddenly you do, it's a really big draw. But really keeping in mind that you're there to have this experience and make the most of it. And when are you going to be there again? Make sure you're connecting with people and, thinking about your photos and things like that, but don't get that in the way of being abroad. If you're worried about only taking photos of the places you're at, but not actually, absorbing the experience, it can really take away from some of that. And you only get one chance at this experience, so make the most of it, and really enjoy it. Not that you'll have a hard time doing that, I'll have to say. Our presentation is always kind of like not very uplifting and upbeat because we get to talk about like really serious things. But then you'll forget it all and you'll be there and have a great time.
So a little bit about health insurance. You all should at this point have your health insurance cards. You should have gotten an email from CISI. They're the insurance provider that we work with. And they really are awesome. And they cover just about anything that you can think of. It's zero deductible insurance. In the case of an emergency, whether that's like you need medical attention, it will fly you to get to the U.S. It will also fly someone that you designate to come be with you if you were to get sick and be in the hospital during your time abroad. There is a lot of other things too. There's worldwide emergency insurance, so translation services if you need those services while you're in the hospital or in the clinic, those are there for you. Natural disaster and terrorist attack coverage, so if either of those things were to happen while you're abroad in your location, it will cover the costs to get you all out of that location. So it's pretty awesome. It covers just about anything that you can think of. We did actually have a student have to use the services to have her mom come and actually be with her. She was studying in the UK or something and traveling in Italy, and it covered the cost to bring her mom over to Italy to be with her, and then also cover the cost to bring both of them back to the UK. So it's really great insurance. Make sure that you you have a copy with you. You all have the digital copy, and your leader also has a copy as well. But if you want to print out a copy to have with you too, you can do that as well.
And I think there's room on the cards as well to write that information. So on the orange cards that we'll talk about in a second. So the big thing that's been in the news lately is the coronavirus. As far as travel is concerned, right now they're not suspending travel or anything like that, and it really is just making sure you have good hygiene habits at this point. It's like the flu or any other sickness, where you just want to make sure you're washing your hands regularly or using some sort of antibacterial, alcohol-based hand rub stuff. Avoid touching your eyes, things like that. It looks like the cases are actually declining for the most part, but we're keeping an eye on everything. I don't foresee any issue with people being able to go abroad over spring break, but if something were to occur and we had to cancel programs, we'd of course be in touch. Right now, the only places where we don't have people going are China. And we do have students all over the world right now. We have some in Japan and one going to Korea very shortly. So it's something that we definitely monitor. But it's not something that's going to restrict our travel at this point because really there's no reason for it to. It's something we are monitoring, though. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to contact our office or contact me, and I'd be happy to talk to you about it as well.
So a little bit more about health. If you are a traveler with pre-existing conditions, it's a good idea to carry a letter from your physician just outlining what the condition is. Should you need medical assistance, then the place that you go to will have a little bit of background on what is happening. This would include like having what the prescription is and the generic name and things like that. If you are bringing medications abroad, you'll want to make sure that they stay in the original containers. And then you can also check the foreign embassy website to see if any of the medications that you are on are considered an illegal narcotic to the location that you're going to.
For example, Adderall is illegal in South Korea. I believe it's also in Belgium potentially too. So it's very infrequent that this would occur. But if you have a medication that you're at all wondering about, you can always go to the embassy of the country that you're going to and then double check it because it changes all the time too. So a program leader should know your pertinent medical information as well. Any medications that you take, whether or not you're diabetic. On a program that I was on in Spain, we actually had a student who was diabetic, and she had an issue while we were there. And because the resident director knew that she was diabetic, when her roommate called and said, "I don't know what's going on, she's acting funny," the resident director was immediately able to say, "Oh my gosh, we need to get her to a hospital immediately. She was having something going on." And it was. She really did need to go to the hospital. So things like that, allergies. If you have allergies to any sort of food or penicillin or something like that, especially if you're allergic to penicillin and you ended up, or something like that, you ended up being in the hospital, having somebody else aware of that is a really good thing, because if you're not able to inform somebody, it's good for somebody else to be aware of it, to be able to inform the doctor. Also, any other medical conditions that you feel might be relevant to the faculty leader to know. Just being up to date, too, with your health exams. You're going to be gone for a fairly short period of time, but just making sure that you're up to date with everything and all your immunizations and stuff like that. If you have any questions about like what types of things might be recommended for the location you're going to, you can always look at the Centers for Disease Control for, like malaria or typhoid or things like that for some of the more exotic locations. Most of them do not require other vaccines or anything like that for most of the locations that you'll be traveling to.
Yeah, and there are travel clinics in town, like either Essentia or Sanford. Also have traveling nurses that know all of that information too, so you can literally just make an appointment with them, and they'll tell you what they recommend based off of the locations that you're going to. So
Fargo Cast Public Health.
It's not anymore, actually, because I called the other day and they don't do it anymore.
Well,
it's just Sanford or Essentia. So,
okay. Yeah. Well, good to know. We do also have, you maybe have already received an email about this, but you can download the Alert Traveler app. It's synced through our Study Abroad system, and it has an itinerary in there for your experience. So one of the things you'll want to do, I'll go to the next screen and kind of explain how to do this, but you'll definitely want to download this app and have it on your phone because it sends you push notifications for safety alerts and things like that. So it comes directly through basically the State Department and a worldwide network for any of the locations that you're going to. We have it automatically at a certain level, but if you want to have even, like notifications about a little bit lower level, for example, I've had weather alerts before. You can have it turned on for that. You can also look at just information about the country. So there's a lot of information through this app. It also allows us to, if there was some sort of an incident abroad, we can send a check-in push notification directly to your phone. So we can say, are you okay? Is everything okay? And you can push and say, yes, I'm fine, or no, I need assistance. You also have the ability to, if you need assistance, you can actually push that directly to us and it'll notify us in the office as well that you need assistance. So within your study abroad portal, if you log into our website, on your applicant homepage, you'll see on the lower left-hand corner, there's like an alert traveler box. And you can click on that to download it either through Google Play or the App Store, and then you'll download the app, and then when you go back into your application, you can actually click on it, and it'll sync your itinerary with the app that you've downloaded to your phone. And then I recommend turning location services on because then it will give you live updates for your exact location, and feel free to turn it off after you're done traveling. We definitely aren't out looking to see where people are in the world. We don't really care unless there's an incident. But the nice thing from our perspective is that when there is an incident abroad or in the United States, actually, because we have students on National Student Exchange, we get a push notification in our office just saying like, oh, there's been an incident in Germany, for example, and this is what's going on. And most of the time it's not anywhere near our travelers, but it's really nice for us because it gives us a roster of these are the people that are affected by this alert. And then we can get in touch with people as needed. Any questions about Alert Traveler? It should all be activated within your system. Has anybody downloaded it yet? A few people. Cool. Yeah, more instructions. There's also information on how to use Alert Traveler and all sorts of things within the application as well. So you can watch how to, like, videos about it and stuff like that.
So for those orange little cards that we handed out to you, this would be a good time to put some of this information on there. So the number, that's the actual number. If you were to need any assistance with your insurance, that would be the number you would call to get in touch with CISI. And then obviously there's a lot of other information. You can go to the embassy page and see specific information, things like that too. But it is a good idea to, you can take photos of it or write it down, whatever it is. You can fill out those little orange cards too at another time and just keep it with you. You can also just snap a picture of that too to have it with you and share it with parents or family members too, so they kind of know.
Mm-hmm. Plus, you're going to forget the orange card, right? At least if you have a photo of it, you probably have your phone. Most people will, even though a lot of times they're useless bricks for the most
Pretty
part,
much.
unless you have them turned on.
Yep.
They tell the time when you're abroad.
Yep.
On the back, we do have steps of what to do in case of an emergency. A lot of times, if you're in an emergency, you're not exactly thinking clearly, so it's really nice to kind of just have those tips on what to do in case of an emergency. Of course, the first thing would be to notify the local, police or ambulance or whatever it is if you need assistance like that. The second thing would be your program leader, making sure you know their contact information is one of the spots on the card, and knowing how to get in touch with them. It also could be somebody else on site, like if you're working with a provider, it might be their contact information. CISI, the insurance company, is also someone you can contact if you need assistance. They're there to help travelers abroad, and you have their coverage, so you can always contact them as well. Sometimes it might be that the leader will contact the insurance company on your behalf, or our office will contact the insurance company on your behalf, but you are also welcome to if you need their assistance. You can also contact our office, and we have that information on the back of the card as well. And so feel free to contact our office, especially if you've, for example, been trying to get a hold of your parents, but you can't get a hold of them and you want us to continue trying or something like that, feel free to get in touch with us to be able to do that. And then your family, when you're in contact with them, make sure you're using good judgment about when you contact them. So I was a student once, I studied abroad. I did silly things like, email my mom from Morocco, or not Morocco, it was Egypt. I was in Egypt, and I said, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so sick. And then I don't know what else I said in the email, but not a whole lot more. And then went 5 days without emailing her. And we didn't have cell phones in Egypt. So when I finally returned to Morocco and then gave her a call, she was panicking because she's like, what in the world? You sent me an email saying you were sick and then you didn't contact me for 5 days. Like, don't do that. Another example would be to just, if like I lost my phone when I was, or not my phone, my purse when I was in Morocco, left it in the back of a taxi cab. Of course, you get upset about it, right? Oh my gosh, my passport, my money, my everything. Like everything was in there. I think I even had my social security card for some reason. Don't take your social security card abroad. No need for that. But in that moment, had I called my parents, it may have been 2:00 in the morning. I did not do this, thankfully, but I've thought about it. Where, oh my God, I lost my card. I don't have any money. And now I don't have my passport. And how do I get all this stuff? But if you're waking up your mom at 2:00 in the morning or whoever, they're probably not going to be very thrilled with you. They're also going to be really upset. Versus if you wait till you calm down and then you realize, okay, we're going to contact the cab company. We're going to see if somebody else happened to see it. And then that's exactly what we did. Within 20 minutes, I had my purse back and everything was fine. But had I called somebody in that moment of panic, probably not a good idea. Not for their stress level anyway. I mean, if you're hoping to give them a heart attack, you could try it. But maybe be nice to them. So just make sure to use your best judgment with family. And they're already a little stressed because you're gone. I remember when I came back from Morocco, my mom was like, oh, I'm so glad you're back. And I was like, I'm glad you didn't tell me that while I was gone. Because they really are, they're worried about you while you're there. So try to keep it a little even keel with them. Also, the American Embassy is there to help Americans abroad. So if you ever are separated or anything like that, and you're not sure what to do, you can always contact the American Embassy or the State Department as well.
So as far as other things that you can kind of think about enrolling in, there is the STEP program. So if you enroll in that, it just allows the U.S. to know that you're abroad and where you're at. Should anything happen enrolling in this, it's nice for them to know which Americans are abroad where. The State Department travel warnings, this is also kind of notifications that you'll get from Alert Traveler as well. But if you did want to see that, you can go onto the State Department website and see like different things about travel warnings for the countries that you're going to. And then this is just a nice link for tips for traveling abroad as well, if you want to take a look at in your spare time.
So as far as safety, just making sure that you look after your friends while you're abroad. Most of the time, a lot of groups are going to say, travel in groups of 2, 3, or 4 most of the time, and just making sure you're not leaving anybody behind. Keep an eye on each other. If you're in a situation that's uncomfortable, make sure you remove everybody from the situation. And usually, your instincts are right. So listening to your instincts, if something does not feel right, just moving on. And getting yourself out of that situation. We always laugh about, don't go down the salesman wants to take you down a hallway and up an elevator and through some stairs and, don't do that. Make sure you just kind of stay in well-lit areas and don't follow them down some strange avenue or something like that.
Yeah, just be smart.
Yep.
Let people earn your trust. You may or may not be coming in contact with other people while you're there, but just making sure that, you get to know the people. You can decide from there if you're going to trust them or not. Be aware of your surroundings. This is very, very big, almost as big as the water thing. Making sure that you know where you are, but also what is around you. Most of the time, people need to use their health insurance because they trip or they fall, or something like that. So just being aware of your surroundings while you're out and about too.
also a really good tip is you are often going to feel like little ducklings following in a group. But if you aren't paying attention and you don't know where you're going or where you came from, it's not a good thing, because if you happen to get separated, do you know where you're going next? Do you know how to get back to your hotel? All of those types of things. So just kind of being aware. It's really easy to just be a follower in these types of situations because you don't really need to know. But just kind of having a general awareness and being like, oh yeah, I recognize this sign. Oh yeah, I recognize this place, because that'll just help you. You'll also be using all sorts of new forms of transportation, which is really fun. It's kind of the exciting part about it, being able to learn the metro system or the taxis or all these different things that you're flying if you've never flown before. And so awareness is a big part of that as well, and just watching signs and being cognizant of, what's going on. If you're going to places where the street goes different ways, making sure you're looking both directions is really important. Getting lost can be kind of fun, and getting lost within reason, right? So knowing how to get back to the place you're going to, if you wander down a few places, not a big deal. You can always catch a taxi or something like that to be able to get back to where you need to go. Maybe having a map, stuff like that. So sometimes getting lost is more like going on an adventure and not a panicking situation. But if you truly get lost, know how to get to where you're going next or how to get back to the place you need to go. Another fun part is also communication in spite of language barriers. It's amazing, even if you do not speak the same language, to figure out how much you can get across to people. And also you learn how friendly people are. When you're asking, how do you get to this place and from a place, you realize everybody is just there. They're welcoming and happy to help you to get to where you need to go.
All right. And then finally, just a reminder, you're still an NDSU student even while you're abroad. So you still do have to abide by the Student Code of Conduct. Anything that happens disciplinary-wise while you're gone does follow you back here to NDSU, and you'll have to go through that process here. And then just remember that you're a representative of Fargo, North Dakota, Minnesota, United States, NDSU. So just do a good job at representing those places.
And we really don't have issues with our students going abroad, but it's always just a good reminder to think about yourself as an ambassador. You might be the first student, that they've ever met from North Dakota State University, and to be like, wow, where's Fargo? And learning about it, we want to be positive representatives of this location, because you never know, maybe somebody wants to come back here. Or maybe every year we go back to the same location and they're like, this is this awesome group of students that comes back every year and we're super happy to see you again. So really thinking about that, because it does make an impression wherever we go. And so making a good one is always what we strive for. So any questions? Any comments from leaders about anything? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, so it's legal in the country that you're going, so you can have alcohol. The big thing would be if you were to get in trouble, you're actually not legal here, and so you would go through the Student Code of Conduct here because you aren't 20. Because if you're under the age of 21, you're not legal here in the States. So it's kind of like a two-way street. You are legal in the place that you're going to, but if for some reason, I don't know, we've had, I guess, in the past where somebody was disruptive due to alcohol and got kicked off of a program. This is like before I even started, so that hasn't happened for over 10 years. But when that happened, that student had to go through the disciplinary process here on campus as if they weren't of age yet, which is the same thing about if you get a minor here in the United States. So you go through that same process. So yeah, it's kind of a two-way thing. And some locations that you go to, you need to be 18 and some will be 21. So it really depends on where you're going to. Just knowing what's legal. And a lot of times there is definitely no alcohol consumption as part of the program, as far as like it's, you know, it's not an official part of the program, but it might be you're at a dinner where then you can have wine on your own or something like that. But it really depends on the location and all of those things as to what's okay. Also the comfort level of the location and where you're going. Some places are more strict than others. So in Italy, for example, wine is often served with meals, but not always. Sometimes they know they're catering to American university students who have stricter rules, so then there won't be. So it really kind of depends on the location. Anything else? Who is this the first time you're flying internationally? No questions from those people? No. It'll be awesome. Yeah. Managing such a long flight it's one of those things where you really kind of plan out like walking in between. You know what I mean? Get out and move. If you go from airport to airport and you just sit at each airport, you're going to be really not feeling very energetic by the time you get to the location. They'll serve you probably too much food. You'll probably feel like you've eaten too much in between the snacks and all these things on your different flights. And then also, I mean, it depends on the person. So a lot of times, especially if it's your first time flying, you will not sleep on the way there. I mean, I can almost guarantee you probably won't sleep. You're too excited. Two, it's your first time and you're just kind of nervous and stuff like that. So when you get there, it depends on, you know, what time of day you get there. If you get there at night, obviously going to bed, you'll wake up hopefully feeling refreshed. If you get there during the day or in the morning, you're probably going to have like the longest day of your life, where you then stay awake all the way until 7, 8 p.m. in the evening. And that's actually important to get that daylight when you first arrive and be walking around and in the sunlight and kind of like going about your normal day, so that way you're exhausted and you sleep really great, hopefully, that first night. And then it's funny because everybody will sleep pretty good the first night. And then it's that second and third night sometimes where people will have a hard time sleeping. So just kind of thinking about that and thinking about your next few days. Oh, the other thing we did not mention with carry-on. One thing to think about if you are checking a bag is to think about what you have on your carry-on strategically. So if you're checking almost all your clothes in that checked bag and they're gone, and for some reason they don't arrive for 3 days, what do you have in your carry-on that you will need? Do you have an extra pair of shoes that then your feet won't be sore after 3 days of walking around in that same pair of shoes? Do you have extra underwear, extra clothes, things like that? So think strategically about what's in your carry-on if you're going to check a bag. Now, if you carry only a carry-on, then you'll be fine because you'll have everything with you. But really thinking about that. Sorry, I got sidetracked with that answer, but
I would say too to like plan to get up and walk around even while you're on the plane, because it's really bad to just sit for 8 hours without moving. So definitely plan sometimes to like get up and walk around, even if it's just, you know, in a loop or something like that. Anything to kind of get your circulation in your legs going. Because it's not good for your legs to just sit there solid.
You'll be drinking tons of water.
Yes.
You'll be getting up so often your neighbor will be annoyed.
Yeah. Yeah, just don't worry about annoying them. Just do it because you'll feel better.
Don't nap the first day.
Yeah. Yep.
I was just in Jordan and there was one, like a well-experienced traveler, and she's like, dang it, I fell asleep for an hour when we went back to our rooms to do something. And I was like, that's so bad. And she's like, I think I'm fine. I'm really tired. Yeah, no, she couldn't sleep then that night and had a really hard time and then was really tired and dragging the next day. So yeah, taking a nap is a really bad idea on your first day if you can help it. All right. Well, if anybody has any questions, feel free to come up and ask them. This may have stirred some kind of things in your mind to ask your leaders then afterwards or at your next class period. Thank you very much for coming. If you do not have your t-shirt, make sure you grab one, Bison, and then the orange card. And if for some reason you weren't able to swipe or didn't swipe on your way in, you can do that before you leave as well.
Hello. Yes. Hello.